Hey guys, welcome to the second tutorial of the Matplotlib tutorial series. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create bar charts in Matplotlib. So first, we'll need some data to work with. So we have two Python lists over here. The first list is a list of company names. There are 4 items in here: company A, company B, company C, and company D. Again, you can rename these companies to whatever you like. And over here, we'll also have the revenue in dollars. So we have 4 numbers here, and this corresponds to the revenue that each company generated. So for example, $200,000 is the revenue of company A, 100,000 is the revenue of company B, 300,000 for company C, and 400,000 for company D. Right? So they correspond to each other. And again, the data should be like this when you're creating a bar chart in Matplotlib. So first, we'll import Matplotlib. So just type in import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. So we'll, instead of writing all this out, we'll just type in plt, right? And then to create a bar chart, you need to type in plt.bar. All right, plt.bar, and then you have to put in the x values. So the x values are the companies, and the y values are the revenues. All right, so that'll create the bar chart, and then we need to also give it a title. So for example, revenue in dollars for companies in 2020. All right, so this will be the title of the graph, and then finally we'll have to show the bar graph. All right, so this is the minimum amount of code to write to create a bar chart. So yeah, here is a bar chart for the company revenues in 2020. Okay, so now let's say we have two revenues. Revenue is for revenue in 2020, and revenue 2 is for revenue in 2021. Right, we want to plot both revenues for the 2 years side by side. We want to make sure the bars are side by side. So how do we do this? So first, what we need to do is we need to plot the bars for both revenues, and we need to shift the x position, right? So position on the x axis. So the way to do this is to create an index, and we'll subtract it by the bar width. All right, so how to do this is first we need to create the index. So the index needs to have, there needs to be a value for each revenue. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable called index. It'll be a list for, and we'll do list range, and it'll be the length of revenue. What ends up happening is that you end up with a list that is 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is essentially the list that we'll be getting, right? And if you add in more revenue values, the list will keep getting longer. So yeah, so what we'll do now is we'll replace companies with index, and since there are two revenues, we'll have to plot revenue and revenue 2. And also, if we run this right now, what will happen is that the bars will be on top of each other, which is not what we want. We need the bars to be side by side, and we need to shift the index to the left, right? The top index has to be shifted to the left. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable called bar width 0.25. So if you want to make the bars wider, you can simply increase this value. And what we'll do here is we'll take the index list and we'll subtract each element by bar width. So ind minus bar width for ind in index, right? And we also need to set the width of the bar width, right? So we want to make sure that both bars have the same width. And if we run it now, you can see that this is what we need. The bars are side by side, right? But the labels are not correct, because we need to make sure that the labels are company A, company B, company C, and company D. So how do we do this? we can use a function called pltx ticks, and there are two parameters you have to put in. So first is the position and second is the labels. So position will be the position on the x axis, and labels will be company A, company B, company C, and so on. So here we'll replace this with companies, and we need to say the position, right? So the position is index, because index represents the position on the x axis. And if we run it now, you can see that the company labels are positioned on the index. However, you can see that it's not perfectly centered. So the way to center it, what we can do is we can subtract each index value by half the bar width. So bar width divide by 2. And now let's run it. And here you can see that now the labels are correctly placed very nicely in between the two bars. All right. And what we'll do now is we need to label the bars, right? So the first bar is for revenue in 2020. So label, and I'll just say in 2020 for now. You can change the text if you like. And this label will be in 2021. And we'll create a PLT legend. The location, let's just allow Matplotlib to decide the best location for us. All right. And if we run the code now, you can see that we get a nice legend to show the revenue for which year. And again, the title, you have to change it, but we'll just remove the title, and there we go. Okay, so now we'll decorate the graph a little bit more. So what we'll do is we'll add the X and Y labels. So PLT X label, and the X label will basically be a string, company names, and PLT Y label will be the revenue. All right. And also we'll add in a grid to make it a little easier to read. So now let's run it. Okay, so here is how it looks like. So yeah, we have added the Y label and the X label, and we also added the grid lines. Let's just change the line style to dashes. So now it looks a little bit nicer. All right, so this is how our bar chart looks like. Also, if instead of putting the bars side by side, let's say we want to create a stacked bar chart, right? We want the bars to be one on top of each other. So what we can do is we don't need the indexes, and we also don't need this as well. We can replace this with companies. We can remove this. All right, we don't need to set the bar width anymore. And also we need to set bottom to an array. So the array will be revenue, which is the other data set, right? And if we run it now, all right, so here we go. So this is the revenue. This is basically stacked on top of each other, and you can see the data here and compare it. So what happens is that it'll just show you the total revenue in the 2 years. So for example, company A has made 200,000 in 2020 and 300,000 in 2021, and the total revenue is 500,000, right? So you can see the revenue in the individual years as well as the total revenue in both years. So yeah, that's it for today's video. These are most of the features that you can use when creating bar charts in Matplotlib. So if you like this video, then please do consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.